I was out scouting deer earlier this year. I was deep into some public lands in rural NC which can get pretty deliverance pretty quickly, so already on edge. I started seeing a bunch of bear sign, scat, prints, etc. So I added that stress on top of whatever I already had. I stumble on a huge mess of bear prints and torn up earth that looks like it just happened and immediately start thinking, WTF, now I'm gonna get eaten by a bear, this is how it ends. I start making some noise, like lots of noise, hoping to scare it off if it's near, thinking it's late summer in NC, that bear can't be that hungry. 30 seconds later I hear grunting and snuffling off to the side. Heavy breathing punctuated by snorts and the occasional grunt or twig breaking as whatever it is lumbers along. And whatever it is big. Like huge. And it's moving towards. I dropped my backpack and pulled out my hatchet I brought along if I needed to clear out a shooting lane or clear any fallen trees on the road. My heart is pounding and I'm thinking if I survive I'll probably need some new shirts. I'm waving my arms, hey bear, ing at the top of my lungs, but it just keeps getting closer. I'm ready, I'm gonna fight a bear, this is it, my Leonardo DiCaprio moment from The Revenant, at least I'll go out fighting. And then a fucking horse pops its head out of the trees. WTF. Where did this fucking horse come from? I stand there staring at it, it's staring at me, calm as can be. Each other just wondering what the other's plan is. And then he just dips his head and walks off the other way. I took a moment and then kept on scouting. I still have no fucking clue where that horse come from. I'm convinced my woods are haunted. My property was once part of a larger plantation during the 1800s, and we have several unmarked graves for the enslaved a few yards from one of my stands. The original owner was particularly harsh on his slaves, and Harriet Tubman even rescued a few from there. This led to one of the largest bounties in Maryland at the time being placed on one of the escaped slaves. I've seen lights, almost like will-o-wisps, hovering just behind me or off in the distance, sometimes 10 feet off the ground at night before disappearing. Shined my flashlight and no one is there. Hands down scariest thing was during broad daylight. Went out for a walk and felt like I was being followed. Heard my name called behind me very clearly just in time for a baseball-sized rock to go flying past my head. I live on the coastal plain, there are no rocks anywhere near me. No one was there. Shot a deer last season and had a neighbor come with thermals to help me track it at night. He saw a human-shaped and sized silhouette about 100 yards out standing except it was colder than its surroundings. Hightailed it out of there. Also saw the neighbor taking a shit through my scope one time, that was pretty spooky. Our hike in the woods at 4 a.m. taught my brother and me some important lessons about staying safe and respecting wildlife. Firstly, it showed us how crucial it is to always pay attention to our surroundings, especially in places where animals live. Even though the early morning is peaceful, nature can also be dangerous. Meeting a bear with her cubs made us realize we need to be extra careful and respect where animals live. Bears, especially mothers protecting their babies, can become aggressive if they feel scared. When the bear bluffed by charging at us, it reminded us that we can unintentionally disturb animals in their homes. We also learned it's very important to know how to act in situations like this. Staying calm and not making sudden movements are key. We decided to make loud noises, like firing our guns into the air, to scare the bear away instead of confronting it directly. This helped calm things down and kept us. This experience also made us think more about how we behave outdoors. It showed us the importance of carrying the right safety gear, like things to keep bears away, and being ready for any surprise meetings with animals. Respecting wildlife means following rules to avoid conflicts with animals, like keeping our distance and not making too much noise. Overall, meeting a bear with cubs during our early morning hike was a big lesson for us. It reminded us to follow safety rules and show respect for nature. It made us appreciate how beautiful and unpredictable the outdoors can be, and it made us more careful and prepared for future adventures. Deep in the thick palmetto trees, as the evening darkened the land, I was alone hunting for hogs. The noises of the wilderness grew clearer as I ventured deeper. I heard rustling and distant grunts, signs that the hogs were waking up. Carefully, I walked toward the sounds, making sure the wind covered my scent. The palmetto bushes were dense, making it hard to see, so I relied on my ear. The grunts grew louder, showing the hogs were nearby. I stopped to listen, trying to figure out where they were. Suddenly, a low grunt close by made me stop. They were very close, maybe too close. Just as I prepared to move carefully, a loud crash broke the silence. Before I could react, something huge hit me, knocking me down hard. It felt like a train had hit me. I was stunned and confused on the ground. As I tried to recover, another hog charged at me, probably startled by the noise. Instinct took over. Quickly, I pulled out my .40 caliber handgun and aimed. The shot echoed through the trees, and the hog fell with a thud, a clean shot to the head ending its charge. Breathing heavily, I sat up and checked myself for injuries. Besides some bruises, I seemed okay. The encounter was much closer and more intense than I expected, but my training helped me handle it. I got up, grabbed the hog, and started dressing it in the fading light. The rush of adrenaline was wearing off, replaced by a mix of satisfaction and caution. Hunting had been intense, reminding me of the power and unpredictability of the wild. As I worked in the darkening forest, I felt a deep connection to the primal essence of hunting, where skill, instinct, and respect for the animal come together in a timeless pursuit. In the heart of a vast, dense forest, where ancient trees loomed tall and shadows whispered secrets of forgotten times, a group of seasoned hunters gathered for a weekend expedition. Among them was Jake, a skilled tracker known for his fearless pursuit of game and his unwavering determination in the face of danger. The forest was rumored to be haunted by a malevolent presence, but the hunters dismissed such tales as superstition. Armed with rifles and clad in camouflage, they set out at dawn, their voices hushed in reverence for the wild and the hunt that awaited. As the sun rose higher, casting golden rays through the canopy above, the hunters split into smaller groups, each venturing deeper into the woods. Jake led his companions with confidence, following signs of deer and wild boar that had passed through the area recently. Yet, an uneasy feeling gnawed at the edges of his mind, as if unseen eyes watched their every move. Hours passed in silence broken only by the rustling of leaves and occasional bird calls. The forest seemed alive, its ancient trees whispering secrets to those who dared listen. Jake's group reached a clearing where the tracks of a large buck were fresh in the soft earth. Excitement surged through them, and they readied their rifles, scanning the perimeter for any sign of movement. Suddenly, a chill wind swept through the clearing, sending shivers down their spines. The air grew heavy with an oppressive silence, as if the forest itself held its breath. Jake, ever alert, sensed a shift in the atmosphere, a subtle change that set his nerves on edge. Without warning, the sky darkened as thick clouds rolled in, obscuring the sun. A sense of foreboding gripped the hunters as they exchanged uneasy glances. Then, from the depths of the forest, came a haunting sound, a low, mournful wail that echoed through the trees. The hunters froze, their hearts pounding in their chests. Jake recognized the sound, a legend whispered around campfires, of a vengeful spirit said to roam these woods, seeking retribution for trespasses against nature. Disbelief turned to fear as the wail grew louder, closer. In the midst of their panic, a deer bounded into the clearing, its coat gleaming in the dim light. Instinct took over, and Jake raised his rifle, aiming carefully. But before he could pull the trigger, the ground beneath them trembled violently, knocking them off their feet. Amidst the chaos, a figure emerged from the swirling mist, a specter clad in tattered clothes, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. It spoke in a voice that echoed with anguish and fury, accusing the hunters of desecrating the sacred land. Jake and his companions were paralyzed with terror, unable to comprehend the supernatural force that confronted them. The spirit's wrath intensified, unleashing a tempest of wind and rain that lashed at the hunters. Trees swayed ominously, their branches creaking as if in agony. Desperate and fearing for their lives, Jake and the others fled through the forest, pursued by the relentless fury of the vengeful spirit. As they stumbled through tangled undergrowth and leapt over fallen logs, the forest seemed to conspire against them, twisting and shifting like a labyrinth designed to ensnare its prey. Panic-stricken and disoriented, they struggled to find their way back to camp, haunted by the ghostly wails that echoed in their minds. Hours later, exhausted and on the brink of collapse, they stumbled into the clearing where their tent stood. The storm had passed, leaving the forest eerily quiet once more. Gathered around a flickering fire, they recounted their harrowing ordeal, each haunted by the chilling memory of the vengeful spirit that had confronted them. From that day onward, Jake and his companions swore never to return to those haunted woods. The experience had forever changed them, instilling a deep respect for the unseen forces that dwell in the wild places of the world. And as they sat by the fire, surrounded by the comforting glow of its embers, they knew that some hunts were best left to the spirits that roamed the shadows of the ancient forest.